आज के एपिसोड कुछ शानदार ही होने वाला है কারণ এখানে ইংলিশ বাংলা হিন্দি সব রকম ভাষায় কথাবার্তা হবে। হ্যালো এভরিওয়ান, ওয়েলকাম টু রিবর্ন পডকাস্ট। আরো একটা এপিসোডে হাজির। একটি বাচ্চা, একটি শিশু যখন এনআইসিইউ থেকে বেরোয় তখন সে অনেকগুলো ফেজের মধ্যে দিয়ে যায় এবং এত ফেজের মধ্যে দিয়ে যায় যা হয়তো আমি আমার এন্টায়ার ক্যারিয়ারে হয়তো কখনো যাইনি। সেই বাচ্চার নারিশমেন্ট এবং ডেভেলপমেন্টের জন্য অনেক কিছু দরকার। সেই সমস্ত মিথস এবং সবকিছু ভাঙবেন আজকের বিশেষ অতিথি ডক্টর শ্যামল কুমার এই মুহূর্তে আমাদের সঙ্গে উপস্থিত হয়ে রয়েছেন। सर, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल रिबॉर्न पॉडकास्ट में आपको बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज दिस, when a child comes out of NICU, what happens with that kid?
Once a child is discharged from the NICU, first of all, it's a bit of overwhelming for the parents, emotionally, physically, and socially, I would also say, because it becomes a part of the whole family. So once the child is out of the NICU, first time the parents feel that the child is a part of the family now. So that's where the journey actually begins. Now, if you ask me what this actually means from medical perspective, so this actually means that child has to come on a follow-up, has to go through regular vaccinations. Now, the immunity of a child who has been out of NICU will be a little bit variable because he has been exposed to a lot of things. So the immunity has to be taken care of. Mother, if she would be handling the child from the NICU, then she would know how exactly to handle the child. Else it will becomes a little bit difficult for a first time mother to handle a child who has just come out of the NICU, and especially if the child is a preterm or a low birth weight child. So these are the first things. Once the child is handed to a parent or a mother, they come face to face with these overwhelming situations.
Parents are so much concerned about their kids regarding हाथ देबेन ना, उसको हाथ मत लगाओ, नहीं थोड़ा हाथ साबुन से धो कर आओ। So और भी कितने सारे डर, what are the myths and fears a parent go through after the kid is born?
So once the child is born, definitely what you have said, key hygiene issues has to be taken care of, but it has to be on a basic level at least when the child is being discharged for home.
Right.
There are certain myths, I would say, because, and these are not only for NICU babies, for all babies which we generally face. For example, there is a lot of question about ki massage kaun tel se karna hai. I mean, which oil should be used.
Absolutely.
So AIMS clearly cuts with a criteria that okay, olive oil is the best. But that does not mean that we cannot apply the other oils with like coconut or mustard. I would say that whatever suits the child best, we can go ahead with that. Then again, there is a myth, there is a jaundice, which is generally a physiological jaundice, and there is nothing to worry about it. So if there is a jaundice, should we apply oil? There is no criteria which clearly delineates that no oil should be applied when the child is having a normal physiological jaundice, which will generally appear on the 4th or 5th day, maximum to the 7th day of life. What I have seen is they generally put oils to clear the nose and the ears. That has to be avoided, specifically avoided, because rather than benefit, they produce a lot of harm to the child. Again, there is a concept of putting angithi or borsis, what they call it, to keep the room warm. This has strongly been prohibited because anything, if you are putting in a closed room, will consume oxygen from the room, and then it will produce carbon dioxide and monoxide, both of which are harmful for the lungs of the kid. So we find cases of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS we call it, especially in winter when these things are being used. So these are some of the common myths which we generally face, especially during these winter seasons for children from our area actually.
How do parents understand whether their child needs a high-risk follow-up care?
A very good question, I would say. High-risk follow-up. Now, a child has been in the NICU for quite some time. Okay, child needed a lot of supports. They might be on ventilatory support or high flow oxygen. They might be very low birth weight children, less than, I would say, like 1.5. They might be very premature. So if you ask from a layman perspective, But how can a parent identify if the child falls in the high risk category? I would say that if the child had been in an NICU, he must be considered a high risk newborn. But then again, there are criteria to define it may be mild, moderate, or severe risk. So that is for us as a clinician or a pediatrician or a neonatologist to define that criteria, because that demarcates the follow-up. But for a parent who knows that the child went into the NICU, a proper NICU. So I'm not talking about SNCU or for an observational care. So a child who has been into the NICU, was admitted, was on treatment over there for any purpose. It can be a minor lethargy also, where we found that okay, sugar levels were on a borderline or low, but was admitted for 1 or 2 days for better care. That can be mild risk newborn. So for these children, the follow-up protocols will be a little bit different from those who have a moderate risk, from those who have a very severe risk of, those who fall in a severe high-risk newborn categories.
From babble to banter, what are the common red flags?
If we are talking about the red flags in the development of a child, we have to clearly follow up the child on a close look. And if you are talking from a parent perspective, then if the child is not giving a social smile, there is something called reflexive smile, there is something called social smile. Reflex smile is child smiles on his own, okay, without any initiation. This is not actually a smile, this is the curvature of the mouth. Okay, that looks a little bit like a smiley face. So,
but every time does that happen? As for me, when I was a kid, I did not used to smile seeing the strangers, of course. I was completely limited to myself.
I agree.
I was an introvert kind of a guy.
Really, I'm talking about a newborn phase.
Okay.
Okay, at a newborn phase, less than 2 months, children will do this type of smiley face. But that is not actually a smile, that is just facial curvature. But actually, children start social smile by 2 months of age. So what you are talking about is a totally different aspect. I'm talking about from the development perspective, a 2-month-old newborn will give a social smile, especially to a mother's face. Because I'm talking about especially because stranger anxiety, which you just talked about, comes by 9 months of age. So that is a different aspect. So a social smile should be there for a child by 2 months of age. If that is not coming, parents need to get an opinion from the treating pediatrician or physician. Then again, neck holding, if we are talking about, should be there by 4 months of age. If it is not there at 2 months social smile or 4 months of neck holding, I'm not saying the child is abnormal, but that becomes a red flag and they just need to visit the pediatrician. Thirdly, what we have found is by 8 months, child should be sitting. Okay, sitting without any support on his own. And lastly, by 12 months, child should be standing. So these 4 domains, what we talk about, child should be giving social smile by 2 completed months. By 4 completed months, there should be neck holding. By 8 completed months, there should be sitting. And by 12 completed months, the child should be standing. From a parent perspective, this is the least you can remember. There are full charts of developmental domains. There is Denver's 2, then there is TDSC, there is Baroda domains. But these are for us as physician. And you cannot memorize everything. So from a mother, from a father, or from a parent perspective, these are the 4 main things on the developmental domain for a newborn, which you can closely look. And if they are going on track, chances of child having abnormal developmental pattern will be very less. I will not say negligible, but very less.
What's the right way for a parent to monitor the development of their baby?
So, if you are going into a bit of detail into it, then again, we have to look into the 4 major domains of development we are talking about. The first being language, because what I talk lately, I do not talk about the language, because it comes a little bit late. So by 6 months, babbling is there. By 9 months, there will be monosyllabic. So I will bring a bit of clarity into it. Babbling is like ba 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 ba, what the child usually does. Monosyllabic is ma, ba, pa. By 12 months, bisyllabics. Mama, papa, baba, dada. By 1.5 years, there will be one word. At least one word other than ma, pa and all. By 2 years, 2 words. By 3 years, 3 words, sentences. And by 4 years, full story will be there. So this is a common flow which we generally see for a child. There are other major domains like personal social, where I just talked about the social smile aspect. Then there is stranger anxiety into it. Then there is constructive play, pretend play, all those things are coming. But in the first 1 year, at least these two things has to be taken care of. Social smile at 2 months, stranger anxiety at 9 months. Thirdly, the gross motor, the neck holding, the sitting, the standing, all has to be taken. I just mentioned about it. And lastly, fine motor. So fine motor, especially for us as humans, we use our fingers for finer activities. So child will be able to grasp, so we call it bidextrous there, using both hands to grasp. So that comes by 6 months. So unidextrous by 8 months. Then pincer grabs, using 3 fingers. So child will be able to pick up pellets or rice or dal from the ground using his 3 fingers. So that comes by 9 to 10 months. Okay, and by 1 year, child is able to hold things and walk and all. So these things, at least in the first 1 year of life, has to be taken care of.
Is food an important sector for the development of a child? I mean, the feeding part.
So feeding is one of the most important aspect for a newborn, and mother's milk is the best thing. Obviously, there is no doubt about it. When mother is not able to feed, we ask her to express the breast milk, so that becomes EBM, express breast milk. If mother is not available for any other, we use donor milk. If that is also not available, then we think about the formula feeds. But there are logical issues, the dilution, then proper hygiene of maintaining those, then using safety bottles. So that becomes an issue into it. So if you ask to me, first 6 months, nothing else, exclusive breastfeeding for a newborn. Beyond 6 months, complementary feeds have to be introduced. I would encourage the traditional food. So if you are from like West Bengal, Jharkhand, they generally use rice a lot. So rice water, dal water, that can be used, they can be mixed. Once the child is able to adapt with them, we can use smashed rice and smashed dal into it, a little bit of khichdi, dalia. So the traditional food which we are using have to be introduced to the child. Once the child, and we have to give time for the child to adapt to these foods. Because one fine day we started with dal water and rice water, and next 2 days after that we started directly with the rice. So that becomes a little bit haphazard for the child to adjust to. So we give 7 to 10 days for a child to adjust to the new food component, because food allergies are common. So we give 7 to 10 days for the child to adjust to the new food component, and then gradually introduce the next food. While taking the next food, we have to keep in mind the food should be a simple food, not a complex protein. So introducing non-vegetarian diets, I would say junk foods, that has to be avoided, completely avoided in this first 1 year of life.
सर आपने तो इतने सारे केसेस देखे हैं, तो ऐसा कोई केस आपको याद है जिसको देखकर आप अचंभित हो गए कि अरे भाई ये क्या हो रहा है?
रोज ही अचंभित होता. Medical line is a line of magic. When you expect things to happen, they don't happen. When you don't expect things to happen, they happen. Professionally, my wife is also a gynecologist who is working with me. So we get to encounter the babies from the womb. Procreation से लेके creation से लेकर के delivery तक, and post delivery में जो जाने अनजाने complications आते हैं, we are handling that. So honestly speaking, magic देखना है तो हमारे लाइन में, ठीक है, क्योंकि we have seen those kids surviving. I have a 900 gram weight baby who made through against all odds, and now he's like 7 years, doing well, going to school. And we have seen full-term babies who could not make through. So this is what I have in the last 13 years, what I have seen being a part of parcel of both of our life, me and my wife, because we have been in and out of this every day actually.
मैं इस बारे में तो ऑब्वियसली आऊंगा आपकी और एग्जैक्ट वाइफ के बारे में। आपके अंदाज में हाउ वुड यू डिफाइन ऑटिज्म, ADHD एंड ऑल दीज फील्ड्स आपके नजरिए से एज अ डेवलपमेंटल पीडियाट्रिशियन?
It's just a different way these bulbs light up. मेरे से पूछते हैं कई बार कि सर बच्चे में ऑटिज्म है तो क्या इसका ब्रेन खराब है? नो, इट्स नॉट लाइक ब्रेन खराब है. If you do an MRI, it's very unlikely that we get anything conclusive to stamp that okay, the brain is abnormal. तो there are few neuronal circuits, यहाँ वहाँ थोड़े से circuits में मिसवायरिंग है, जो कम्युनिकेशन जो वायर से जाना चाहिए था उस वायर से नहीं इस वायर से जा रहे हैं, एंड दैट नीड्स टू बी एडजस्टेड. बट दीज चिल्ड्रन आर ब्यूटीफुल एंड ब्राइट इन देयर ओन वेज. वी एज अ सोसाइटी डोंट एक्सेप्ट दैट कि वो अपने वे में कैसे ब्राइट रहेंगे, वो हमारे वे में ब्राइट होना चाहिए. सो वी ट्राई टू ब्रिंग देम बैक. एवरी चाइल्ड इज गिफ्टेड और उसको ब्राइटन अप होने के लिए हम उसको फुल पोटेंशियल में लाने के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी देना. आवर सोसाइटी डिमार्केट्स की एकेडमिक एक्सीलेंस इज ओनली द क्राइटेरिया टू डिफाइन द चाइल्ड इज ब्राइट, बट दैट इज नॉट ट्रू एक्चुअली. इफ यू टेक इंटेलिजेंस पर से, तो गार्टन ने डिफाइन किया है इंटेलिजेंस कैन बी मैथमेटिकल, इट कैन बी लॉजिकल, इट कैन बी ग्रामेटिकल, इट कैन बी रिलेटेड टू द सॉइल्स. सॉइल कहने का मतलब हुआ कि आप गांव में चले जाओ और उससे बोलो कि आप साइन करके दो, he will not be able to sign. पर वो मिट्टी के नमी को छू के बता देगा कि इसमें गेहूं उगाना है कि धान उगाना है. So that becomes a different type of intelligence. That is also intelligence only. But we cannot accept that कि वो गांव का गंवार आदमी है. How can we call him intelligent? So we define कि नहीं ये illiterate क्योंकि वो साइन करने नहीं आता. ठीक है? And he is also not bothered. क्यों? वो कमाता है अपना खुश रहता है, परिवार वालों को देख रहा है, घर मोहल्ले वाले को पता नहीं उसके वजह से 10 लोग के घर चल रहा हो तो उसको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. That's the way the autistic kids are actually. उनको कोई मतलब ही नहीं. आप परेशान हो, वो मस्त है, they are enjoying their life. ठीक है? Until unless we are forcing things on them. ठीक है? तो what I would suggest the parents कि आप बच्चे के डिसेबिलिटी को नहीं देखो. ट्राई टू फाइंड द एबिलिटी ऑफ द चाइल्ड, उसके स्ट्रेंथ को मार्क करो. देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड हैबिलिटेशन, देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड रिहैबिलिटेशन. तो रिहैबिलिटेशन क्या है? अ चाइल्ड हैज लॉस्ट समथिंग, एबिलिटी टू वॉक, एबिलिटी टू टॉक, और हम उसको थेरेपी देके उस चीज को वापस लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. बट व्हाई आर नॉट वी ट्राइंग टू हैबिलिट द चाइल्ड? हैबिलिटेट क्या है? वी आर ट्राइंग टू डेवलप न्यू स्किल्स इन द चाइल्ड जो थे ही नहीं कभी उसमें. उसके एबिलिटीज को देखा, हमने मार्क किया कि ओके ही कैन ड्रॉ अ ब्यूटीफुल पिक्चर. तो उसके उस हैबिट को, उसके इस एबिलिटी को हम गार्नर करके उसको डेवलप करा के ही माइट बी अ नेक्स्ट पिकासो, हूएवर नोज. तो ये है कि रादर देन फिक्सिंग ऑन देयर डिसेबिलिटीज कि मेरा बच्चा ये नहीं करता इसलिए हमको ये थेरेपी देना है, फिक्स ऑन देयर एबिलिटीज कि मेरा बच्चा ये करता है इसको हमको और इंप्रूव करना है. सो लुक ऑन द डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ द इंटेलिजेंस ऑफ अ चाइल्ड. इज इट म्यूजिकल, गाता अच्छा है? इज इट इंस्ट्रूमेंटल? इज इट मैथमेटिकल? इज इट लॉजिकल? क्या है वो देखो आप. ठीक है? तो आई थिंक इफ वी लुक इन अ डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट, वो पिक्चर जो है चेंज करेगा. क्योंकि you cannot ask an elephant, you cannot ask a fish, you cannot ask a horse, and you cannot ask a monkey to stand in one line and let's see who wins the race. क्योंकि सबकी एबिलिटी अलग अलग है. बंदर पेड़ पे दौड़ करके आगे पहले पहुंच जाएगा, मछली पानी में. बट अगर मैं यहाँ से वहां तक मैं दौड़ने के लिए बोलूं तो हो सकता है कि सिर्फ घोड़ा ही दौड़ के सबसे फर्स्ट हो. That doesn't mean कि घोड़ा is very intelligent. तो we are not focusing on the abilities of the child. We are just trying to rehabilitate. जो चीज वो लूज कर गया उसको वापस करवा दो खाली. But rather than if we focus on the habilitation of the child, then it becomes more perspective.
So how was today's episode? Hope you had all the right informations around. Wait for the next part with Dr. Shyamal Kumar. We'll be back soon with all the other informations which you need to know right now. Until then, keep our channel subscribed and click on the bell icon to have a glimpse of all the other episodes coming up.